everybody, and welcome to Generally Speaking, the podcast that bridges the worlds of pop culture and personal development. I'm your host, Jennifer Snook. I am so happy to be here with you guys today. I hope everything has been going very well in your world. Everything has been just fine in mine. As you can see around here, we are fully and officially in the holiday spirit. I have my big, beautiful tree in the other room, and it is so gorgeous, you guys. I'm going to put some pictures up for you. And actually, speaking of pictures, I know I owe you guys some. I know I owe you pictures, at least of Dancing with the Stars. There was something else I was going to give you guys. I know I am behind and I am sorry, but I promise you will get a slew of pictures very soon. Anyway, you guys, we have a lot to talk about today. It has been quite a week. We had the premiere of Beverly Hills, and I have to tell you, it made me so happy. I loved it so much, and we are going to get into it. We are going to get into Southern charm and talk about all the juice. But before we do, if you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure you reach out and smash that subscribe button. I would appreciate it. Now, you guys, I just want to take a minute before we get into the Bravo of it all. I just want to take a minute to get into something else. I had somebody send me a message the other day, you guys, and the gist of the message was, stop talking so much before you get into all the Bravo stuff, right? They were just like, I just want you to just get to the Bravo juice. Right? And then they went on to say, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not sick. Just give me the tea. Right? So this was on a pod that I had mentioned my Sjogren's and my lupus on. And I just want to take a moment. This is not about getting back at this person, but it does just kind of tee up an opportunity to just remind anyone that is listening that just because someone doesn't look sick doesn't mean that they're not sick. Because the truth is, people that are dealing with invisible diseases fight through really hard shit all the time. And just because you can't tell doesn't mean that it's not happening. And I know it's hard. I used to be one of those people that if I didn't see it for myself, like if I didn't have tangible evidence, like I didn't believe it. Like if someone said they had a migraine, I was like, yeah, sure. And that's just so wrong, even though that used to be me. And you know what the universe gives those people that are so judgmental and don't hold space for people? The universe will give you something like an invisible autoimmune disease so that you can learn empathy and you can learn to hold space for other people, right? That's what happens. If you can't show up and hold space, the universe will teach you that lesson and you will be the one with that invisible disease. And then you will be in those shoes and then you'll be wishing that you didn't treat those other people like that, the same way that I am today. I will tell you that living with Sjogren's and lupus is hands down the hardest part of my life. The Sjogren's makes my life difficult every single day. Every single day. There's nothing I can do to stop it. Truth is, it makes you face your mortality on a daily basis, so much so that it roots you deeply in gratitude because you're just so grateful for every single day. And it isn't always easy, but what's the option? To curl up and hide in a corner, right? When we know that life is precious? No, you have to try and push forth as much as you can so that you can enjoy the life you have while you have it to live. And just because it might look easy, it doesn't mean it is. So don't judge the way someone feels by the way someone looks. Because I mean, the truth is, looks can be deceiving. I mean, that woman that sent that message, I mean, she didn't look like an asshole. Anyway, that's enough of that. Let's get into the gossip. So you guys all saw those pictures of Mauricio all cuddled up with that reality star when his arms were behind her and she was, you know, smiling up in his face and he had his head all curled into her neck. Apparently those pictures dropped on Thanksgiving Day while Mauricio was sitting around the table with Kyle and the girls. And it's hilarious because just in this last episode of Beverly Hills, when the girls were all around the table together, they were talking about their dad's dating habits. And the girls all said, we're not afraid to give dad all the shit in the world about it. Even Sophia said, she goes, when I saw those other pictures of dad standing at the valet stand, I called him right away and said, get it together. Anyway, apparently these pictures made for a very awkward Thanksgiving, but according to Mauricio, they are friends and only friends. So, okay. And then there's Kenya Moore, you guys. Did you guys see her and Chanel Ayan going off on that yacht in Dubai? I mean, it was a crazy in love kind of night for sure. And I mean, those two were feeling each other, not in like a romantic girl on girl way, but they were having one hell of a time. But speaking of girl on girl, I'm wondering if Portia is still going to be with her new girl when they start filming the new episodes of Atlanta, because I can guarantee you that would help ratings. I mean, it's not too often that we see Housewives switch teams, especially switch teams like on screen. I mean, I feel like it's happened though. I know that we didn't have Kyle completely crossover, but there was, what was wasn't it Jersey? Wasn't it that wacko Danielle who went out with the piano player? But was that while she was on, or was she, I don't know. Let me know if you remember that. How many how many housewives? Oh, and then there was the one in Orange County, the one that had all the kids. Oh my God, what is her name? What is her name, you guys? It started with a B too, didn't it? Anyway, you know the one I'm talking about. Sean, she had the husband Sean, and then she left him, and then she got a girlfriend. So that's one. But I feel, how many others have there been? Leave that in the comments, you guys. I want to know. But anyway, I think it'll be really interesting if Portia brings her girlfriend on the show. Anyway, you guys, it is time for a reality check, and we are gonna our way right on over to Southern Charm. So the show opens up the morning after Sally's big beach bash, and I mean, the house is a wreck. Did you see it? And honestly, isn't that just always the worst part of having a bash? Or even like a mid-sized party, honestly. When you wake up the next morning and you've been up trying to entertain people, and whether or not you've been drinking, I mean, that would just make it 10 times worse. But when you wake up to a mess, it is just a nightmare. It's horrible. Honestly, I really, truly believe that you should invest in having like a team of two show up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, the next morning, do the cleanup and fix breakfast and have that for you, right? It just makes the entire experience so much nicer. It makes it a party for you too, right? Instead of a party, rush, entertain, and then clean the next day. I mean, where's the fun in that? Anyway, I'm just saying, I think it should be worked into the budget. I really do. And if you can afford to have some cleaners come in and hook you up so that you can wake up and just go about your day, that's the way to go. So then the new girl, Charlie, you guys, has a FaceTime with her mom, and she tells her all about the fun that she had the night before and about the fact that Sally got annoyed with her because she thought that she was flirting too much with Craig, even though Charlie swears that she wasn't actually flirting. Then Venita goes over to Sally's house, and the two of them go out to sit by the pool. And when Sally asks her what she's been up to, she says, well, I went to lunch with Molly, and I'm pretty sure she's not your biggest fan. Which I don't know, something about Venita is bugging me this season. She goes on to tell Sally that Molly thinks that you try and call dibs on every man in Charleston, and she thinks that you shouldn't do that. And Sally goes, oh yeah, really? Well, I'm a little annoyed with Molly for talking shit about me, especially to you, because I mean, she does nothing but blow up my phone constantly. I mean, she has me thinking that we're like best friends. And then she goes on to say, and there's a lot of people that I think are cute. And I think that's okay. And Venita goes, mm-hmm. And then Venita says, okay, well, why don't we just let's just clear the air. So are you attracted to Craig or not? And Sally goes, I don't know. She goes, do I think he's hot? Yeah. Do I like being in his hot tub till 4 a.m? Yeah. She goes, it's really not that deep. And Venita is clearly rattled by her honesty. And to camera, she says, I don't do the best job of letting people know the things that they're doing that are making me unhappy. And she goes, I really wish that there was a world where Sally could open those big blue eyes of hers and realize that she shouldn't be doing this because her best friend is mad at this person. Like, why is she going after the person that I'm mad at? And honestly, in that moment, I felt like I was transported back to freshman year. I mean, what is she talking about? Then she says to Sally, I think if this friendship is something that you actually value, then you're going to need to give me a little more respect. Because I feel like sometimes you do choose Craig over me. And I mean, what is happening here? So Venita's trying to determine who Sally can and can't go out with? Is that what's happening here? Just because right now she's mad at Craig? I mean, say hypothetically, she ran into Craig, the two of them had a heart-to-heart, and then they were cool. Like the next day, would her best friend then be able to go out with Craig or pursue Craig or have feelings for Craig or think he's cute? Is it okay then? Venita's trying to convince us that she's the one that gives out the green lights. So insane. Like, was someone going to stop her from going out with that kookadook JT? Remember that? Nobody liked him, but they gave her that space. Nobody understood what she could see in him, but they gave her that space. Then Sally says to Venita, oh, that would never happen. I would never choose Craig over you. And Venita goes, well, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. What? Then a very pregnant Madison meets up with Austen for some crab. They sit down to eat, and Madison says, so I got to talk to Audrey a little bit at the party. And Austen says, yeah, I know you did. She says, I asked her how the long distance thing was going, and then they flash back to Audrey telling her that she's been the one doing most of the driving. He's been doing about 10%. And then we see Madison go on to tell her that she thinks that the person that Sally actually has the crush on is her boyfriend, Austen. Then Madison asks Austen, so what's really going on, Austen? And he says, well, basically, I just really enjoy having her here, and that's great. But then when it's time for her to leave, I'm really cool with that too. Like he says, I just don't really have any desire to like deepen or strengthen or, take further steps in our relationship. And honestly, I'm so glad that he is actually articulating this and saying this and owning this, right? Because he's realizing, I think, or at least starting to realize that he is of a certain age. And that doesn't mean that you need to be with someone, but you shouldn't be with someone if you're not really in it. If you're not that into it, you should probably get out of it. And Madison agrees. And she says, you never know what's next, Austen. You might just find someone you can't live without. Then Miss Pat FaceTimes Whitney, who's in London. Pat shows him the headstone that came in for their dog Chauncey, who recently passed. And while Pat's talking, she starts to get choked up, which, God forbid, you guys, we have never seen. I have never seen really an ounce of like true emotion come out of her. Even when that sweet little butler died, I didn't see her cry, but she was definitely crying about that dog, and it was hilarious. I mean, she even acknowledged it. She goes, you will not see me this upset over any of my ex-husbands. And then Austen calls Craig with a big announcement. He is officially going to be a dad, a cat dad, to 2 kitties, 2 little girls. And Austen knows that Craig's had experience with cats, and that's actually the real reason that he called. He actually wants to get some help getting all the gear and goodies that you need to keep 2 little kitties. And while Craig and Austen are on the phone talking about these cats, Craig is actually on his way over to the art gallery that Charlie works at. Craig is kind of feeling her, and at this point, he's hoping that he can go into the art gallery, buy a painting or 2, and that'll be his next move. He even says, he goes, I move slowly. I move slowly. I want to make sure that I'm friends with someone. And I mean, he is right. He is a slow mover. But then when he locks in, he's locked in. The 2 of them have a fun, flirty time looking at art. And when it's over, Charlie says, I'm not really sure if I like him, but I definitely like flirting with him. Then we're on a road trip with Shep and Rodrigo. Shep's taking Rodrigo out to his parents' property to go sift through a bunch of antiques because Shep has bought a big, beautiful house and he has no furniture in it, right? He says that he's, at least 10 to 15 years behind his brother and sister who not only have the big house, but they have the big house and the family to fill it. So I think Shep's just kind of trying to appease his parents just a little bit and be like, I'm on my way, you guys. I'm on my way to the final picture. I'm at least buying the house. Hopefully I'll soon have a family to fill it. But anyway, he needs help in the decorating department. So he's taken Rodrigo out there. And it's funny because there's one point where Shep, all of a sudden you can see he has this little realization. He goes, I'm not really sure what Rodrigo's design style is, but I guess we'll find out. And I guess at this point, he's just figuring that whatever it is, it's probably better than his. And I'm sure he's right. Then we're with Madison and Brett as they tour their beautiful new home. And Madison is just so happy in her life and so very proud of where she is. And it is so sweet to see. I love that girl. I've always loved that girl. Then Craig and Austen head over to the pet store to buy all those goodies that they were talking about. And their grand total was a whopping $426.21. Then the boys go grab a bite to eat and they start discussing what costume they're going to wear to the party that they have coming up. Craig says, I'm really not a big theme party person. And Austen says, you're probably just scarred from all that dress up you had to do in the Hamptons. Hilarious. He did have to do a lot of dress up in the Hamptons. I'm not a theme party person either. I don't like a costume. Then Craig says, well, I tried the lover version of myself and now I'm back to the party version of myself. Everybody has these versions of themselves and you try on all these different versions of yourself and then you realize that none of them are you. You are just you. And that's the goal, to just be you. So then you can dip into this and you can dip into that and you can dip into whatever you want to dip into, but then you come back to center. And kind of the way you do that is by trying on all those different versions of you. So Craig is right on track. Craig says to Austen, you know, I'm finally at the point now where I could feel like I could really kiss someone and not feel guilty about it. He says, whether that's Charlie or even Sally, and Austen says, well, which one would it be? And Craig says, well, you know, I don't know. I'm just out here having fun. And Austen looks at him and he goes, well, you know, I got to admit, I am having a little FOMO about your freedom. He says, I do. I kind of miss being a little single, right? You know? And then to Craig, Cameron goes, what? I would give anything to not be single. So Austen, in this half in, half out bullshit, I mean, what is he doing? And then he turns to Austen in scene and goes, you know, Austen, relationships take compromise. They take give and take. And if she's your person, it'll work out if you're willing to put in the work. And the look on Austen's face is just basically, I'm not. Then it's time for the new guy's party. He's turning 30 and throwing himself a birthday bash. Venita shows up to help him party prep. He has a bunch of beautiful dishes on his table, and we learn that they were a product of his last relationship. Whit was engaged to be married and fully in love with his long-term girlfriend, and then he says that she just suddenly called things off. He says he thinks he's finally healed, but that it has indeed been very brutal. And as Venita's listening to him, you can kind of see the light in her eyes. She kind of starts looking at him in a whole new way. While Austen and Craig are getting ready, Austen says, hey, Craig, you know, I'm probably going to be a really good wingman for you tonight because no girl's going to be after me in this getup. And Craig says to camera, what the hell's he talking about? No chick's going to be with you tonight, Austen, because you have a girlfriend. That's the real reason. Then everyone starts arriving to the party, and everyone was wearing the most incredible costumes. And I just love that they all were so different. I mean, they were all really great, but the best was Rodrigo in that t-shirt that said, pretend I'm Don Quixote. But actually, I'm going to take that back. He actually was the best until Madison got there, dressed as one Shepherd Rose, and that completely took me out, you guys. How hilarious was that? Madison got there, you guys, because do you remember Shep wrote a book? So she was dressed as Shep on the cover of his book. So freaking funny. And not only that, but now remember, she's going as Shep to a birthday party. So she gives what's his name? The new guy, Whitner, whatever the hell his name is. She gives him a birthday present, you guys, and it's a shark tooth necklace because, you know, that's what Shep Rose does. I thought it was so hilarious, so good. Also, did you see that? If you haven't watched yet, when you do watch, pay attention. I swear to God, when you look at Madison dressed as Shep, all you will see is her adorable son, Hudson. They look 100, not even 100, like 110%. She looks more like Hudson than Hudson looks like Hudson. It is wild. As soon as Sally and Craig start talking, Venita starts rolling her eyes. Speaking of Craig, he's dressed as the leader of the Lost Boys, but no one can really tell. And I'm telling you guys, it is completely bumming him out. No one is clocking it, and he is getting more and more bummed. And then, like, even after he tells them, leader of the Lost Boys, they're still like, huh? And he's like, the leader of the Lost Boys. And I mean, when they put the side-by-side up, you could see it. But I mean, Craig committed, you guys. He hired a makeup artist and the whole bit. So the fact that people didn't know who he was a little bit of a heartbreak. Then Craig clocks Austen talking about him, and then Rodrigo confirms it. And he says, yeah, Austen likes to take shots because he has FOMO. Then Sally makes a comment about her drink, and Craig says, Sally's never happy with her shot. And Austen says, because it's always in your hot tub, Craig. And I'm thinking, because it's always in your hot tub? Sally has a problem with her shots because it's always in your hot tub. Someone please explain to me how that makes any sense. Craig says, Austen's so jealous. And he says, no, I'm not. I'm not jealous at all. Craig says, yes, you are. You're so jealous. Look at you now. You're all locked up with your kittens. Austen says, Craig, you've been locked up for 5 years, and now you've emerged, and now you're having fun. Craig says, look, I've been out. I've been enjoying my friends. I don't know why that bothers you so much. And honestly, for you to hate on fun is just silly. Craig says, you're the only one that's bitter just because you don't know yourself. And Austen goes, oh, yeah. Oh, what is this? The Craig Conover special? Craig says, you're the only person miserable because you're the only one here that's living a lie. Austen goes, no, I'm not. Craig says, Austen, happy people don't tear other people down. And I mean, hello, he's not wrong. But Bapadoo, I love it. I love that show. There is so much on Bravo right now, you guys. It's bananas. I mean, there are just so many shows. I love it. I mean, we are in the thick of it. So you guys, moving on over, I'm so excited to say this, moving back over to Beverly Hills. And I mean, holy moly, did you see that opening sequence? As flashy and over the top as it gets. I mean, did you see that? High glitz, high glam, Beverly Hills, baby. The show opens with Dorit heading on over to Bose's house. She's going over to give her an update, and not just an update, but deliver her birthday present, which is one of those ridiculous Hermes blankets, you know, the ones with the H on them. I mean, please. Bose says, oh, is this a blanket so I can feel your warmth? And honestly, I'm just thinking, no, so you can feel her stupidity every time you look at that blanket that's not even cute. And remember that it costs $2,500 just because of the label. And then what? You're supposed to drape it over your couch so people can see the label and see that you're willing to spend $2,500 on an H? I mean, please, really? Do you know how many warm, cozy, fuzzy, delicious, succulent blankets I could get at Home Goods for $2,500? But I digress. I know we're in Beverly Hills. I know. You know, Dorit, she'd sell a kidney for a label. Bose tells Dorit that she's seen the rags and she cannot believe that PK has been out on the streets kissing some sheen version of her. Dorit says, can you believe it? She says, and the fact that he filed for the kids? She says, he is nothing but the master of disaster. And I love that line. She says, there's no way that PK can have the kids 50% of the time. He just can't physically. He travels too much. She says the only reason why he filed was to save his public image. Then Dorit goes on to tell Bose that she's disappointed once again in Kyle because it took Kyle days to respond after she found out that Dorit had gone ahead and actually filed for divorce. Then we're over at Kyle's house. She's there with all of her daughters. They're having like a wedding planning meeting because her daughter Alexia is engaged to her childhood best friend, who she has been tight with, you guys, since 3rd grade. I mean, how sweet is that? Kyle then pulls out her wedding album and the girls all fawn over their parents. Then the topic of their parents bringing dates to the wedding comes up and the girls fully shut it down. I mean, the girls all make it clear that they are paying very close attention to Mo's dating habits. And they all make it clear also that they have no problem talking shit to him about those paparazzi pictures that we've all seen. Kyle, for her part, says that those pictures were really, really hard to digest at first, but she says that now she's just pretty much desensitized to the whole thing. All the girls are at the table together, and at this point, Portia is no longer looking like the little sister. She is looking like a grown, gorgeous woman. And honestly, what a beauty she is. And then, you guys, it is the return of Rachel Zoe. And I mean, do you die? Because honestly, I do die. I do die a little bit. I loved that show. I loved Rachel Zoe. I truly think that she is a style icon in her own right. She is incredible. She goes on to say that her and Kathy Hilton met years ago. She says that she knew Paris first, but then one day she was out shopping and she ran into Nikki and Kathy and she fell in love with Kathy on the spot. Rachel recently divorced Roger Berman, who, you know, she was with. I mean, they were married for 26 years and together for 33, you guys. I mean, I don't even remember Rachel Zoe without him by her side. When Kathy asked her for an update on the divorce, she goes, you know, I think we just grew apart. You know, I've always been very St. Bart's and he's always been very Grateful Dead. Then my girl Erica goes to pick up Kyle. The two of them are going to head on over to Sutton's for a luncheon, and not just a luncheon, but a luncheon attended by the one and only Reba, Sutton's infamous mother. Once we get there, we see a party planner there helping Sutton with everything, and we realize that it is definitely not Avi. Erica comes in, she greets Reba like a good Southern girl would. She drops the little ma'am in for good measure. Sutton says, Erica and I have been through a lot in 5 years. And then they flash back to their many confrontations, and I mean many, and they're good. The two of them face to face, great. I'll watch that any day. Sutton says, we've really had quite a history, so we are both still a bit guarded. Then Kyle looks around and she says, so where's Avi? And Sutton goes, I let Avi go. Kyle says, what happened? And Sutton says, well, nothing really. I mean, there was no real drama. I mean, and I love him. I mean, he really made me laugh a lot. And it's been hard. And then to camera, Sutton says, Avi has seen me through a lot. He saw me while I was married. He saw me while I was not married. He saw my daughter graduate. She says, I considered him a very close friend. And Erica says, well, did you leave on good terms? And she says, well, I thought I did. She goes, but I guess stuff happens. And then to camera, Kyle says, well, I mean, let's face it, she really wasn't easy on him. And no, she wasn't. Then Sutton says, it feels like I've lost a friend. And then the girls go, well, speaking of losing a friend, what about that other friend? And Sutton goes, oh, yeah, that. And then they flash to that headline where Garcelle was talking about the fact that she has completely unfriended Sutton, and not online, but I mean, online, yes, but also in real life. Kyle and Erica both say, what in the hell happened? And Sutton's just shaking her head. And Kyle says, I was so confused. She goes, I still don't get it. Kyle says, I reached out to her. I texted her a couple times, but I never heard anything back. And then Erica says, well, she unfollowed me, so I unfollowed her back. Sutton says, well, I had to find out in the press that she unfollowed me. And then Kathy Hilton walks through the door and she goes to kiss Reba. And Reba says, oh, darling, I don't do those side kisses. And Kathy says, oh, I don't either. And I'm thinking Kathy Hilton doesn't do side kisses. Isn't she like the queen of side kisses? Then the ladies all go outside to sit at this beautiful table. Kathy starts things off with a toast to Reba and welcomes her to California. And then Sutton dives into the topic about her annulment. And I mean, my God, this annulment situation is so wild. We go on to find out that her husband, that she got a letter, you guys, from the Catholic Church saying that her husband had petitioned for an annulment. Her husband that she has known since she was 13, that she was married to for 17 years, you guys, that she had free freaking children with. He wanted to have their marriage annulled. And the Catholic Church did it. And there's no way that she could stop it. It blew my mind. I don't even understand how this is possible. This is just so wild to me. It's so nuts. And the even nuttier part is the fact that Sutton says that after she got that letter and she called her ex-husband about this, he tried to sell her this bullshit. He says, yeah, I think that getting annulled would make us better friends. Getting our marriage annulled would make us better friends. What's happening here? I mean, bananas. Then Kyle tells them that she's having a summer kickoff and that all the ladies will be there, including Dorit, which brought up Dorit and PK's divorce. And at this point, they're all talking about the fact that they all assume that PK is going to be playing dirty. And then the whole topic of that PK kissing pic comes up. And Sutton says, I think it was staged. I really do. And Reba says, well, it must be, because I wouldn't kiss him. I can tell you that. I find him very unattractive. And then Sutton says, my mother and I don't agree on everything, but we definitely agree on wanting to kiss PK, ever. Then Sutton asks Kyle if she still talks to PK, and she says, no. And Sutton says, so you severed ties? And Kyle says, yeah. It sounded like a nya, like nya. I don't know, but it just didn't sound like a definitive no. It wasn't a, oh no, definitely not, I cut that off. No, it was a nya. Then we're back at Rachel's house and she's making breakfast for her boy. Rachel says she thinks the demise of her marriage was working together. And then they flash back to the old show. And while she's talking about the fact that they grew apart, she gets really teary. She says that the boys' relationship with their dad has been pretty good, but it could definitely be better. When Rachel asks her son if there's any girls at school that he likes, he looks at her and goes, Mom, my hormones haven't even kicked in yet. Then Erica meets up for dinner with Bose. Erica says, life is just the craziest thing. I was in England about to go on stage to give the performance of my life. And just before I do, my phone starts blowing up. She says, and it's everything about Tom going to prison. It's all of Tom being transported to prison. And she says, and I just sat there and was just so struck by the moment. She says, and is there a side of me, that wants to see him for some sort of closure? She says, yeah, there's a side of me. She says, but I'm really wrestling with, is that going to give me closure or is that really just going to give me more questions? And then Bo says, well, that's exactly why we need to get you busy. And I saw those rumors, Erica. And Erica goes, well, yeah, the truth is I did meet someone and I was very flirtatious. She goes, but that doesn't mean that what happened to me last night was even better. And this is right around the time that Erica met the new boyfriend. And I think in this next coming episode is when we are going to get to meet him, when the audience is finally going to get to meet him. And I think that Erica is in a wonderful, healthy relationship now for the first time in a long time. And I am so happy for her. But then the producer says to her, well, how about you just set the record straight about what did go down in New York? And she goes, okay, well, the record is, don't worry about it. Then Bo says, so what's been going on with the other ladies? And Erica says, well, I was at Sutton's luncheon just yesterday. Her mother was there. And Bo says, well, did she talk about Avi? And Erica goes, yeah, she did. And then they flash back to Sutton's house where she was actually talking about Avi. And she says, well, you know, for a position like this, you need to have really good communication skills. And if you just don't have that, it's not going to work. And then her mother, Reba, goes, well, it's not like Avi was ever at a loss for words. And then Bo says, yeah, there's the Avi thing, and then there's the Garcelle thing. And it's just so crazy because those people were so firmly in her camp. And she had just such a vitriol until we got to that reunion, and then she just turned into a church mouse. Bo says, that's the problem. I just can't trust someone like that. And Erica says, well, that's because you and I like consistency. We want people to be who they are the whole time. Erica says, the bottom line is that she doesn't have a lot of friends at this point. Now she's alone. And now she needs to show up and show us who she really is and be consistent and be open and let us see her true self. Bo says, I completely agree. And I actually said that same thing. I said, will the real Slim Sutton please stand up? And Erica goes, well, I don't know about the slim part. Box, you guys. Erica never does that. I mean, sorry, box. Then the ladies all get ready for Kyle's summer cook-off. Erica is the first to arrive, and the party is just gorgeous. There's florals, there's crowns, there's champagne. Kyle's drinking the non-alcoholic version, but warns Dorit that she may not stay there forever and she still might come back to the dark side. Then we see Bose and her man and her family, and we can see that things are super great with her and Keeley. And she says to camera that she is so ready to move forward with him. And he is adorable. And the banter between the two of them, the warmth between the two of them, I'm into it. When Bose arrives, her and Kyle both say to camera that they're hoping that their friendship will get past that little weirdness that they had last season and develop into something more. Bose is talking to Kyle and she says, so what's going on? Fill me in. Kyle says, so we're just waiting for Kathy, Rachel, Zoe, and Sutton. And Dorit goes, who? Sutton? Sutton who? And then to camera, Dorit says, I'm not looking for trouble with Sutton tonight, but if she goes there, I'll meet her there. And then Sutton walks in, and even though there was all kinds of anxiety around her arrival, the minute she got there, it all melted away. The ladies all go and sit down, and Dorit dives right in, and she says, Sutton, I want to say I'm sorry. Erica and Kyle updated me and Bose on that whole annulment drama. And she says, yeah, but I mean, what am I going to do? And then she actually reached out to touch Dorit's hand in like a gesture of connection. And Dorit almost panicked, you guys. Bo says, you know, there's been a lot that's gone on, Sutton, and I don't know exactly what happened with Garcelle or Avi. Sutton says, the last time I saw Garcelle, she was walking out on me just like she was walking out on all of you. She says, I texted her over and over again and I never heard anything back. Dorit says, do you think that maybe your relationship was more of an alliance than a true friendship? And Sutton says, no, I don't believe that. She says, I really love Garcelle. We were best friends. Bo says, you know, I was really surprised. I just don't understand what you did. I mean, I know she was mad at me. I guess she said I didn't have her back, which I really don't understand. Sutton says, listen, we could play the guessing game for eternity, but we'll never know because she's not talking to any of us. Sutton says, it's taken me a while to get over it, but I'm finally at the point where I'm feeling steady about it. Then Kathy and Rachel finally arrive. They all greet the other girls. Bo says, I met Rachel when I was on her podcast, and the two of us really hit it off. And then Kathy, out of nowhere, you guys, pulls out a pair of jeans out of her bag, her purse. And everybody's like, did you just pull those pants out of your purse? And she says, yeah, I bought them for Kyle. Aren't they cute? And Rachel Zoe goes, who but Kathy Hilton pulls a pair of jeans out of her purse? Then Rachel starts talking to the girls about where she is and her, divorce project. And Bo says, I really feel like Rachel would be a good example for you, Dorit, and the way she's moving through this. Rachel says, I really just don't believe that people should stay together if they aren't happy. She says, kids want parents who love them, not parents who don't love each other. And the truth is, you're not shielding them because they can feel it. Bo says, I know Dorit didn't originally want her kids to know. And Kyle says, well, do they know now, Dorit? And she says, well, yes. Yeah, they know. They both know. Jagger knows more, and he's been making comments, and when I asked him about it, how he feels, he just kind of brushes me off. And Dorit says, I want my kids to be happy. I want peace. I want to be happy. Kathy says, does it bother you with, the PK thing? And Rachel goes, what? The fact that he's running around with a bunch of girls? And Dorit says, well, to be honest, I think he saw Mo kind of living his best single life, and he thought, why not me too? And then Rachel says, speaking of Mo, Kyle, in Aspen, somebody actually tried to set me up with him. And I was like, that's Kyle's ex-husband. Are you fucking crazy? And then to camera, Erica says, PK is a world-class partier compared to Mo. She says, compared to PK, Mo is in like the kindergarten class. And then Rachel looks at Dorit and promises her that she is much better off. Then Dorit asks Kyle what it's like for her to see pictures of Mo out kissing other girls. And she says, listen, it was really hard at first, but to be honest, I've kind of gotten used to it. Rachel asks Kyle if she's single now, and she says, well, yeah, I'm single, but to be honest, I just stay in my house, and I'm honestly happy with that. Rachel says, well, that homebody shit really needs to stop. She says, I know how easy it is to just stay home in your sweats. She says, but that has to end. You have to get out. Honestly, she says, you need to start getting out at least 3 times a week. She says, I know it's easy to stay there and stay in your comfort zone. She says, but I promise you, if you go out and then come home, you will feel a whole lot fuller. And then Dorit puts her hands up and says, I want to feel fuller. I want to feel fuller. Rachel says, well, does anyone else want to have a hot girl summer? And Dorit says, I do. And honestly, with those pics Dorit's been posting, it looks like her summer ended up to be a scorcher because that cutie she's been kissing is a real hotsy-totsy. A definite upgrade. All right, everybody, that about does it for this episode of Generally Speaking. Thank you so much for being here. If you've been watching us on YouTube, please make sure you reach out and smash that subscribe button. If you've been listening on your favorite streaming platform, please hit that follow button, leave us a 5-star rating, leave us a comment. We would love that. If you'd like to collaborate or have a question you'd like answered on the pod, you can reach me at jennifer@jennifersnook.com. If you'd like to find me on socials, you can find me on TikTok at This Is Generally Speaking or on Instagram at @TheJenniferSnook. And if you'd like to get your hands on any of this adorable Generally Speaking merch or join our General Assembly, make sure you check out jennifersnook.com. And you guys don't forget, if you want to be considered to come on the special pod with me, the fireside chat that we're going to have, make sure you comment Christmas down below. All right, everybody, I have loved spending this time with you. Thank you so much for being here. And until we're together again, everybody, stay rooted in love. Happy holidays, everybody. We'll see you next time.